Good morning. I just wanted to review jaundice in the newborn. So starting off, what is jaundice? Jaundice is a yellow color of the skin or eyes caused by an excessive buildup of bilirubin in the bloodstream. When babies are born, they have an excess number of red blood cells that the body needs to break down relatively fast. The red blood cells normally get broken down and sent through the liver for processing into bile for excretion through the bowels. Bilirubin is the pigment that's in the bile that gives it that yellow-green color. In newborns, the liver and the gut are immature, therefore leading them to have difficulty processing all of the red blood cells as quickly as they have to. And they can't process the bile or the bilirubin fast enough. This creates a sort of traffic jam and a buildup of bilirubin in the bloodstream. With the excess bilirubin in the blood, the skin turns into a yellow color due to the pigment. Generally, it will start on the forehead or the nose, centralized to the face, and then it will follow systemic to the rest of the body. I hear a lot of times new postpartum nurses or mother-baby nurses saying, how do I know my baby's jaundice? It's really hard to tell. Some babies it is hard initially until you see a couple of them, and then you become familiar with what normal looks like versus abnormal. So these photographs, I tried to find babies that were different race, different ethnic backgrounds, so you could see the variations in kids and how jaundice would present in those babies. So you can see a couple of the babies have jaundice in the eyes. That little baby in the left-hand corner is just a little glow bug. He is jaundice all over, or she, I don't know. But you can see the variations there. So why does this matter? So excessive bilirubin in the blood, or hyperbilirubinemia, is relatively common in newborns. Actually, I found in my research that up to 60% of term newborns and 80% of preterm infants can develop jaundice. So I thought those numbers were pretty significant. Having too much bilirubin, and especially for a long period of time, can be extremely toxic to babies, even adults too, but we're focusing primarily on the newborn population today. It can lead to acute bilirubin encephalopathy and kernicterus, which can actually be a lifelong debilitating disorder. So kind of a big deal. So who is at risk? Are babies who are preterm, those who have ABO and RH incompatibilities with their mom. If we have positive DAT or Coombs testing, inadequate breastfeeding, and I emphasized this inadequate because breastfeeding alone is not a risk factor. We want to assess their INO, assess their feeding frequency, all of the things that we do with our breastfeeding families to promote adequate intake and output. Family history of phototherapy, there's a link there. Siblings, if older siblings had phototherapy at birth, chances are this baby may need some sort of help. If there's a G6PD deficiency, hematoma or bruising during the birth, so those are our babies that are vacuum extractions or difficult labors, maybe shoulder dystocias that were traumatic, babies who are born very precipitously, very fast. There can be some trauma, and you'll notice bruising to their face. So the body has to break down those bruises, right? Remember, red blood cell breakdown. So that increases their chance of excessive bilirubin. Babies with Down syndrome, or I found this one interesting, macrosomic babies of diabetic mothers are at risk as well. So what is our treatment for these babies? Most of the time, jaundice is considered a physiologic change, and it will resolve on its own through movement of the bowels. If that doesn't occur at a rate that we want it to, then phototherapy would be the next line intervention. We would also simultaneously want to make sure this baby is being fed and or hydrated via IV if necessary to help keep that gut moving. I know, right? Keep the kidneys moving, keep the gut moving. And our last line resort options, we can do IV immunoglobulin, although the data is not really very clear on risk versus benefits and overall outcomes. There is a possible association leading to NEC, which we know can be very detrimental to newborns. So families, along with their providers, definitely want to look at the risk versus benefits, right? That's an educated consent decision that's made with the healthcare team and the family. And the last resort is an exchange transfusion, where the baby's blood volume would essentially be completely replaced with a blood donor who does not have the levels of bilirubin that the baby has. So of course that would be happening in a NICU environment. So think of our babies that are in outlying campuses, right? They would have to be transferred in, which takes time and coordination of a healthcare team, of our mission control center. So in the research that I was reading, most of the outlying campuses, resource limited hospitals, will opt for the IV immunoglobulin while waiting transport for the exchange transfusion. That might be the only option for them at that point in time, to prevent any further damage to the baby, damage to their brain, to their organs. So those are options, although they're not great. We want to try and get the baby sooner rather than later, have phototherapy happening at an aggressive rate, and try to eliminate the need for that. So the exchange transfusion and the immunoglobulin are our last-ditch efforts to try and reduce that bilirubin level. So that's the end of my talk on bilirubin. A couple of references that I used are listed here, so feel free to check those out. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.